All right, let's dive into something pretty wild. We're going to explore a fascinating and, yeah, speculative bridge between two things you probably never thought to connect: ancient spiritual wisdom and the sci-fi dream of teleportation.
So, let's just kick things off with a big question. When you hear teleportation, you immediately think of technology, right? You know, the whole Star Trek thing. Beam me up, flashing lights, particle streams, the whole shebang. But what if that's not the only way? What if the real key to zipping across space isn't something we build in a lab, but something we find within ourselves?
Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about the dream itself. Then, the massive reality check from modern physics. After that, we'll explore a totally different approach from ancient traditions, connect it all with something called the Paramatma Bridge, and then reframe how we even think about technology before we land on the big takeaway.
Look, this idea of just appearing somewhere else, it's not new. Not at all. Long before we had sci-fi, this idea captivated us. You find it whispered in ancient texts and myths just as much as you see it in the biggest blockbuster movies today. It seems to be a core human fantasy.
I mean, come on, who hasn't dreamed of this? Being able to just be somewhere else. Instantly. No airports, no sitting in traffic, just poof, you're there. It's the ultimate daydream. But, as you might expect, modern science has a few things to say about it.
And this is where that beautiful dream crashes headfirst into a giant concrete wall of physics. Because when you actually try to figure out how to teleport a person, the challenge becomes almost ridiculously, incomprehensibly huge.
To get a sense of the scale, just look at that number, 10 to the power of 28. That's a 1 with 28 zeros after it. That's roughly how many atoms are in your body right now. Just trying to map and track every single one of those is a task that makes finding a needle in a haystack sound like a walk in the park.
And it gets so much worse. It's not just about counting the atoms. Quantum mechanics says for this to work, you need to do 3 things. 1. Know the exact quantum state of every single one of those atoms, all at the same time. 2. Somehow get all of them to behave as one unified, controlled system. And 3, and this is the weird one, you have to destroy the original to build the copy. Right now, with our tech, that's not just hard, it's basically impossible.
So, physics says it's a no-go. The front door is locked. But what if we've been trying the wrong door? What if the solution isn't about building a machine powerful enough to do this to our bodies, but about an interchange that lets us do it ourselves? This is where some ancient traditions offer a completely different blueprint.
If you go way back into ancient Indian scriptures, you find these incredible stories. They talk about these enlightened masters, these rishis and yogis, who are said to have abilities that sound an awful lot like teleportation. They could just show up in faraway places, instantly, without a ship or a horse or anything.
So what was their secret? How did they pull this off? Well, their technology wasn't external. It was all internal. It was about achieving a profound state of being through things like deep meditation, attaining an incredible purity of mind, and, this is key, letting go of the idea that you're just this solid physical body.
And this is where it all comes together. This is the speculative leap, the bridge that tries to connect that ancient path with the modern quantum problem we just talked about. The entire idea hinges on a concept called paramatma. You can think of it as a state of ultimate consciousness. It's described as this perfectly still, pure, unified awareness, where the feeling of being a separate you kind of dissolves into a sense of universal oneness.
Okay, now for the mind-bending part. Here's the speculation. What if achieving that state of paramatma isn't just a mental experience? What if it has a physical effect? The idea is that in this state of total inner unity, all those trillions of atoms in your body stop acting like a chaotic crowd of individuals. Instead, they start behaving like a single, unified, coherent quantum system, every single atom moving in perfect harmony. So you see the proposed chain reaction here? Step 1, attain that state of pure consciousness. That, in theory, leads to step 2, your whole body achieving quantum coherence. And if your entire system is unified and coherent, well, its state is no longer an impossible mystery. It becomes knowable. And just like that, you solved the biggest problems physics threw at you. Not with a machine, but with your mind. Teleportation suddenly shifts from impossible to, well, at least theoretically plausible.
I mean, this just flips our entire idea of technology on its head. It suggests that maybe the most powerful, most sophisticated tool for interacting with reality isn't something we can build out of metal and silicon. Maybe it's something we already are.
Let's just put these two approaches side by side for a second.
The scientific path uses massive external tools like particle accelerators. The method is all about external measurement and data. The consciousness path, the tool is the mind itself. The method is inner stillness. The key isn't data, it's purity and unity. It's two completely different ways of looking at the world.
So yeah, let's frame it like this. In this model, meditation isn't just a way to relax. It's the actual technology you're using. Your consciousness isn't just some passive observer. It's the machine and your own inner self, your thoughts, your awareness. That's the laboratory where all the real work happens.
Okay, so what's the point of all this? Is the goal just to figure out how to teleport? Not really. The bigger idea here, the philosophical takeaway, is about something much more profound. It's about dissolving the boundaries we think are so real and so solid.
And let's be super clear here. This is not being presented as a scientific fact. It is a philosophical speculation, a thought experiment. The purpose isn't to give you a blueprint for a teleporter. It's to stretch our imagination, to get us to ask different kinds of questions about who we are and what reality is.
It all really boils down to this incredible thought. When the mind becomes pure and unified, the boundaries we once believed in begin to dissolve. What boundaries? Well, the boundary between your mind and your body, between yourself and the universe, and maybe, just maybe, the boundary between here and there.
So we'll leave you with this. We spend so much time and energy looking out there, to the stars, to the bottom of the ocean, for the next great discovery. But what if the greatest, most unexplored frontier of all isn't out there? What if it's in here? What could we possibly find if we started exploring our own consciousness with that same sense of wonder and adventure?